Okay, well, oh, well, hello there. Let me just make sure the fan isn't blowing into the microphone here. I certainly hope it's not. But I'm gonna check that now, and yeah, general audio stuff, and then we get to our week in review. Oh, that was the wrong button. All right, so I didn't hear anything. I hope it's fine. Pretty hot week, or 3 weeks actually. But especially last week was insanity. So, it is week 18 review time. So, let's get right into it actually. Um, while I'm at it, I guess I could just look at week 17 too, because, week 17 and 18 was pretty much just me trying to, how do I say this? Essentially, it was me trying to learn how to draw hair, different shading methods, different sketching approaches. Well, obviously within the realm of what I would like, what looks interesting to me. So, yeah, let's look at the problem first and then the potential solutions I looked at. So, I'm having a massive issue drawing the hair on Kivia's head here because the angle I just don't comprehend really. So I suppose I should have actually drawn a head in this um, position pose is what I wanted to say. But yeah, essentially this is the issue, right? I can't really make out where the strands of hair would go, how it would look, while still keeping the general likeness of her hairstyle. So if we look at an image of Kivia, let me just actually do that here. Let me show you what I mean precisely. So, all right, let's take this image. It's a front, so reference image. All right, so if we look at her hair here, right, you can tell she has these three large, locks of hair, or three large, pieces of hair. If you look at her face here, right, first one on the left, middle, and right side, right? And so I do want to keep, obviously, the likeness of her general hairstyle, but I couldn't really translate that onto this pose. So, yeah, that's why I set out on a little journey of mine. Let me go back here. I don't need to save this now. To try and figure out how to draw hair. I started out not actually doing that because it was like twofold. The reason as to why I stopped working on my illustration practice, really. Uh, so one part obviously was that I'm stuck with the hair, but the other part was that I was getting like, I don't want to say bored, but fatigued in a way, trying to um, wade my way through the difficulties of this illustration practice, because there were a few things that I couldn't do properly, which was, drawing armor. Then I got stuck on the foot for like several days. Then I got stuck on the other leg for even longer than that, you know. than the general time it took me just to draw the armor on Kivia's body. Also pretty slow. I would definitely want to improve on that. And it's just like all of these difficulties compounded and just got me tired. So I thought I needed a little break from just trying to finish that specific piece of art. And so I tried a few different things, not particularly successfully, I might add, but that wasn't the main goal anyway. So despite this looking very terrible, this like supposed car here, I had fun. And then I went over to trying to draw a little bit of environments, although as you can see, not very well. So there's a lot of stuff I can still learn, which I suppose, lucky for me, is more so an encouraging thing to say, so that I have a lot to learn, because I've come around to enjoy that. But I obviously, everyone has limits, and you shouldn't test them too often, because if you just and only set out to crush the competition in a way, right? You run into the issue that eventually you will burn out really hard. And so, yeah, I don't know if I'm trying to avoid that, because honestly, I don't really believe in it. But I do recognize and notice when I'm getting like fatigued and exhausted of doing the same thing over and over again. But that's, I think, more so a character trait, not wanting to do the monotonous, like exactly same thing over and over again, like back to back. It's one thing to have a routine, right? I guess I can compartmentalize as well, but I don't know, how do I say this? How do I phrase this so it makes sense? I don't know if it's a general principle or if it's just applicable to art, but at least when I'm drawing, I notice sometimes I'm getting exhausted from trying to learn the same thing or trying to force myself to finish a specific piece of art without taking care to just take a break once in a while, So I don't know. I guess that's it. Yeah. So let's keep going here. To fix the issue of my poor hair, I just tried drawing some random stuff. First, as you can see here, I was still in the phase of just taking a break, drawing some environments, drawing some random things. In here, in this case, on the right side, I just tried to draw the Bismarck. Not very successfully, but for the very first attempt ever at drawing a ship, I guess it could be worse, maybe. I don't know. I did have fun, but I noticed that I didn't do enough construction, as I noted here on the top, And then obviously I tried drawing bocce in like this chibi-esque style. I think this is like a really popular Korean trend as of not late, but the past few years. So it's definitely not the 2010, chibi art style, where it, I think, had some of its origins. This is a more modernized approach, And I don't mean to say that I hate it. It's just different from what I'm used to looking at, So, yes, very likable. I enjoyed drawing this. Then, of course, tried drawing a Panzer Kampfwagen 4. Not very successfully, I have to say. As you can tell, there were a bunch of proportional issues. So that's certainly something I have to work on, getting a better eye for proportions. And not just that, because obviously anyone can tell this doesn't work. And I noticed while drawing that I've made a massive mistake. But figuring out a way of constructing to take into account my disability in in terms of drawing proportions properly, you know. So yeah, anyway, something I definitely want to improve on. And I've written this down quite a few times. I just haven't gotten around to actually focusing on that for a while. So I might do that today actually. We'll see. I still want to learn a few new letters of the how do I say this? I'm trying to improve my writing, you know, and the specific cursive I'm trying to learn is very difficult. I just want to, you know, learn a few more. Yes, a few more letters. Sorry, I just my mind was kind of blank for a second here. So aside from that, of course, let's go to the most recent stuff we did. So obviously, first I did another chibi style here. This took me, I think, an entire stream to do, or most of it anyway. So yeah, bask in its glory for a second while I take a sip of water. All right, so it was a bit more than a sip, but it's okay. So yes, as you can see, I split it up in a bunch of different layers. You know, I don't think I should have actually done most of them this way, but it worked out fine, so I'm happy with it. You know, individually they don't look particularly nice, but you can tell what's going on. So I've mostly tried to refine this, like these sketches here. Sorry, as in the skin layer drawing here. You know, the face, the clothing, and the hair. I tried to clean them up a little bit to see if I could glean some sort of different approach to this drawing instead of, you know, going in with the hard lines first, like I did, you know. Instead of going in and drawing the outline, I thought maybe I could, you know, see an approach here with just drawing the overall shape and not volume necessarily, although I guess it does apply. But more so, I thought maybe maybe I would like to take a bit more of a painterly approach, you know, where you plop in a color, the biggest colors you can see or the biggest shapes you can see first, and then you refine by essentially molding the first, you know, paint you put down by putting in more shades of it, you know, or putting different paints on top of it to describe different forms and then pressing, essentially molding them as well. Because if you think about it, and I've come to realize that more and more. I've talked about it before, but drawing and painting is pretty much the same. And drawing or painting really is pretty much the same as sculpting, you know. And if you start to think about how to draw in the way of how you would sculpt this image, for example, right? You start to think differently about the values, and that's very important even if you're just going into the drawing through this like flat well, what's the word? I can't remember the word. If you're just encapsulating something, Umfang im Deutschen. Wait, let me think. Fuck, I can't think of it. My mind. What's the word? Not the circumference. Like, no, is it the circumference? The outermost edge, essentially, right? Capturing the outermost edge of a thing, right? You're just drawing the. I can't. I have to consult my translation tools. Let me see if I can find the word I was trying to use here. Sorry about that. The outline, of course. Fuck me. The outline, the outermost line. So, right. Just if you come into the image, and you just draw the outline. The outlines of the eyes, the outlines of the hair, the outlines of the face, the clothes, all that sort of thing, right? Even just when you're doing that, and you're not, although I have to say, when you're not trying to do a specific cartoon style like a chibi style, where most of the lines are the same thickness, not all of them, but most, and they don't really vary. Like a singular line, like say this C curve here, right, in the hair, doesn't really change in thickness over the course of its length, right? So there is essentially no line weight. What I mean to say is, whenever you have to deal with line weight, it is very useful to think about how you would sculpt this image, essentially, right? So every line becomes essentially a press of your thumb into the sculpture, So if you think about what you're actually outlining, right, when you're drawing an eye, for example, what are you actually outlining? Well, the depth. You're not necessarily outlining the every single change in plane, because it will look very weird, very, very weird very quickly. But if you think about what you're trying to represent, you're trying to represent depth with your lines, as much as you can. And it's not always the same, doesn't always have the same importance in your artwork, in every artwork, right? But if you like drawings such as, let me see if I can find anything here. If you like stuff like this, for example, right? If you like drawings that look kind of like this, or if you like drawings that look like this, right? Understanding that your lines essentially represent a change in depth and therefore a difference in value, you will have a much easier time reproducing or just producing any of this sort of art, because a lot of it is just line weights, and they basically just try and help you through what essentially is a shadow, right, to represent the form. Same here with the birds. If you look at the bird, right, and you consider where the light is coming from, for the third one here, for example, right, consider the light is coming from the top right here. The lines on that side are either non-existent or the thinnest in the entire piece, right? And then the lines obviously become thicker, or the marks really, on the shadow side. And that's something that you can observe throughout all of these images here. You know, the artist obviously asked themselves when they were drawing this, well, where does the light come from, and how do I represent the form that's getting reflected into my eye through the light, right? Because essentially that's all, it's all light anyway. So yes, I don't know why I brought all of this up. I just thought it necessary for some reason. I don't know. Don't ask me why. Uh, yes. Anyway, let's move on a little bit here. Yeah, I tried some like random poses. Don't know why. These are the letters I meant earlier. I don't know what you would call this way of writing other than cursive. But yeah, it's a specific way of, writing cursive. And if I remember correctly, and I didn't, do it incorrect, if I have the proper material, this should mean ipsum. You know, the placeholder for translators whenever they don't want to translate a massive wall of text. Sometimes the authors use it themselves, I don't remember what the entire sentence was. Some Latin phrase. Not that important, Then I tried. Right, this was when I tried to draw, to focus a little bit more on the hair, and so I had to construct a face, right? Well, not the entire face, perhaps. This looks very ugly. I cannot bear looking at it for much longer. But I thought, I don't want to erase all of my mistakes, because I could have just gone in and erased all of this, right? But it helps me like get a better idea of where I'm at with my skill. If I'm producing this sort of stuff, it kind of grounds me, So I want to keep them. I don't hate this drawing. It's difficult to look at it, obviously, because I see a lot of issues with it. Perhaps I should go in and try and rectify it. But not right now. Right now we are just yapping. So yeah. Then I realized I somehow can't draw eyes again. So I tried drawing eyes, which were these two attempts here. Very poor attempts. And then I tried thinking, as I told you earlier, about what the lines actually mean. And it wasn't like much of a conscious decision. I only noticed that I changed my way of thought in terms of the quality of the marks, or rather their use, right? After I drew this. So I only realized afterwards what I had done. But yeah, especially here with the eyes. Like some parts of it, don't like some parts of it, as per usual when you're drawing something out of, quote, imagination. Obviously, the ear is very terrible. The hair is not particularly useful in describing anything. It's just there, That's about it. Not the best, not the worst I've drawn, But what was important was just the changing of thinking here. The change in my thinking, rather. So yeah. Then I moved on to some more practice. I think I drew this with reference. I don't remember though. Yes, I did actually. Yeah, I remember. This was my first reference drawing after switching off the illustration practice. So yeah, then I drew some more from imagination, quote unquote, or very ugly drawings. This is not that bad, but I didn't quite understand how to do the hair here. Didn't really get it. So then on my last day, yesterday, or well, actually the past few days, to be honest, I tried taking a bit more reference specifically from styles that I thought I would enjoy drawing, you know. The first thing I found was this. Very nice artist. Unfortunately, I don't know the names of them because they're just from Pinterest, you know. And 99% apparently of the artwork you see on there is either poorly or not credited at all. So if you happen to find them, drop a comment and I'll pin it, you know, if anyone can or wants to find the image. Or you just cut out like a snapshot or screenshot from the stream and reverse image search it or something. Anyway, let me just show you the reference image here. Not perfect copies, obviously, as you can see here with the eye, for example. Mine is a bit higher, but it gives it a different, or her rather, a different facial structure, you know? So you could say, in a way, I drew the sister, you know? If you think about it. Some things I couldn't properly replicate was like the very light and flowing nature of the sketch here, of the hair. If you can compare it, you know. I tried in some aspects, and while it's not terrible, it's not quite where I would want it. But overall, I'm happy with you know, with the sketch. It took me a bit longer than I would have liked it to, but yeah, speed, right? Obviously, the neck isn't quite perfect here, but it is what it is, you know. Could be worse by a lot, you know. So yes, I certainly want to improve the speed of my sketches because I really like this approach, you know. But I have to first get used to not erasing every line I think wrong, because what makes this art style work, or this flowing and free looking art style or sketch, what makes it pop and really work, you know, is the, how do I say this, is recognizing your lines as essentially final, you know, or rather not caring too much about them being placed perfectly, you know, but rather them having the right weight, for example, and properly just describing the form. You don't need to be perfectly accurate to, well, properly describe a form. What's more important is the line weight, you know, most of the time at least. And it's the overall, you know, direction the line bends in. So yeah, I could certainly write an entire thesis about this, but half the time I would probably just talk out of my ass. So I'm gonna stop here. I really like the approach. Very loose, very nice looking, very professional. Then second drawing here. I do have to say I didn't get the face right. However many times I tried, I just couldn't get it. Like I rearranged the eyes, the nose, some of the hair strands, you know. Tried redoing the not the hoodie, the, what's the word? What's the word for this thing? It's not a cap. It's not a hood. It's, fuck me. My English is so terrible. It's insane. All right. Well, let me just see here. Um, it is hood actually. Hood, bonnet, cap. Okay, never mind. I thought I thought it meant something else. My bad. So it is actually a hood. It's hood. She in the hood. She's in the hood. Well, anyway, I couldn't get the face right, and I'll show you what I mean. Because this is the reference. All of these images are, drawings by reference. So if you look at this face here, I just couldn't get it right, you know, and I don't know what it is. I can see some differences here, but no matter how many times I tried, I just couldn't get it right, you know. I just couldn't. I don't know why. Is it the size of the eyes? Is it the orientation? It's just not quite there, you know? It's like just a little bit off. It's kind of like my brain trying to skirt the line of legality in terms of like copyright, you know? It's just slightly off. Just ever so slightly. It's kind of funny. But yeah, that kind of I don't want to say tilted, but aggravated me in a way, very mildly, you know. I just couldn't get it right. I don't know why. I tried. I really did. But yeah, happens. Then I found this little image here. Also, reference, right? Um, I just thought I might want to try a more extreme facial expression, you know, while still keeping to learning the hair, you know. I just didn't want to do it isolated, you know, without context. And what makes a face work, or a head, or the hair, well, is the face shape. If you've ever looked at people, right, in real life and thought, well, that hairstyle doesn't fit them, right, a lot of what contributes to that is their head shape, you know. Obviously, to an extent, what they are wearing, right, so their style choice. But overall, it's the facial structure, it's the volume of the head. And if you just look at someone who has, for example, a big head, right, and super flat hair, it just looks weird, you know. It just doesn't work most often. Some people can make it work, but I haven't seen them perfectly personally yet in real life. I've seen some images, but you know what I mean to say is just I didn't want to, again, didn't want to study the hair without the context of the head and the face. So that's why I'm drawing, you know, these sketches here. Let me show you the reference image. I don't, unfortunately, again, I don't know where or who made this, but if you can see it, it's an image taken like a little bit from the side. So there was a little bit more of a challenge here with this, but it wasn't that difficult. Um, yeah, I think for the most part, I managed to capture the image. I struggled a little bit with how this artist is drawing this like woman, or I don't know, androgynous teenager or something. I'm not quite sure. I have a feeling this is supposed to be a woman, you know, like perhaps a teenager or something, or a more masculine looking woman. But yeah, I kind of struggled a bit with that, trying to not make that look like a man. I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be, but yeah. Anyway, not that important right now. Um, yeah, I enjoyed drawing it. So overall, I didn't find it too difficult. I think I drew this yesterday, right? I think I managed to draw 2 of them yesterday, like this one. I should number them always, because it just kind of seems weird, you know, to say this one. I think this helps with like workflow and stuff, you know, just identifying images as well. So number 3 and number 4, I think I drew yesterday, both of them. Yeah, and then obviously this face here took a very long time to draw. The hair, I mean, because I didn't really find an approach yet to not draw every single individual hair strand, you know. So guess what I did yesterday? I drew every single individual hair strand, which wasn't a good idea. I can tell you that much. Yeah, at some point I just tried and color it, essentially. Treat it more like um, a paint than a line or a mark. It helped a bit, not too much, because I was still mostly doing every single line. What was certainly a difficulty was making sure that the lines or the hair strands were following a particular direction, you know, or orientation. So if you look at, for example, her bangs here on the front of her head, right? You can tell the hair is flowing forward and down, right? But if you look at the side here of the side bun, I don't remember what they are called. I think they have like a specific name, but whatever. Might learn about it today more, but for now, not so much interest. So if you look at them, right, you can tell they're going from left to right, and then they're changing orientation a few times here to give the illusion of them having been bound together, you know? So if you follow the lines here, they kind of look like, or make it seem as though the hair has been well, bound together. I don't know a different word to describe this right now. So yeah, forgive my lack of English knowledge. It's kind of funny, you know, everyday stuff I struggle to describe, but I can perfectly understand someone talking about philosophical concepts. It's kind of weird, you know, stuff like Carl Jung or um, dissertations of Friedrich Nietzsche, I think is his name, right? Let me actually see if I'm not misremembering here. All right, I'll be right back with you. And yes, Friedrich Nietzsche was the name. 1844. All right, so I have returned. Enough yapping. An hour again. Always an hour. I don't ever know where I'm getting this much material from to talk about, Or perhaps I'm just talking in circles all the time. Hard to say. Anyway, I hope there was some, you know, important information for you in that tirade of just words. So yes. Why did I bring up Friedrich Nietzsche? All right, my English competency, English language knowledge. Anyway, I'm gonna go draw now. Not quite sure yet what. Perhaps I'll try drawing a bit more hair. Actually, I did say I wanted to draw something. Figuring out a way to be more constructive with my approach to drawing, especially proportions. So perhaps I'll try that. We'll see. Although I have a feeling I'm just gonna redraw something. Maybe not. Maybe not. If you haven't already, there is still a very big, a very endorsement, I suppose, is the word I was looking for like Xifid. Let me see what his name was again. A YouTube channel. Yes, Xifid. XYPHID. Dropped a new video yesterday, I think. Very, very nice. So it's kind of funny how he structures his videos. It's kind of like a philosophy channel, but always in the context of art. And some of the things he's saying are very interesting, let's just say. They always kind of just make me think, the approaches to his videos. Very funny as well, most of the time. And a very good artist. So check them out if you haven't. Very helpful to me personally, at least. So perhaps there's some information you can glean from his videos, something you can learn from them and implement in your own artwork, or practice or studies or whatever, right? We're all trying to get better here, so why not help each other as much as we can? So anyway, enough talk. I hope you have a very nice rest of your day. I'm going to draw a little bit, relax, find some interesting things to draw, listen to some, I don't know, news perhaps or something. I don't know yet. We'll see. Anyway, it's cooling down the temperatures overall over the coming weekend, so I'm very glad for that. I hope you didn't have too much of an issue if you're living anywhere in Europe. And yeah, have a very nice rest of your day and always have fun when you're learning something, and try to keep them within the context of an issue, right? So try to problem solve with your studies rather than in an a priori fashion figure out or assume what you must know before you're able to draw, right? If you want to make a comic, a web comic, or a manga, or a one-shot, or a storyboard for a game, okay? Do it. Just do it. Draw that stuff. Draw that shit. And draw it with pride. Well, maybe a little bit less pride. Like, no pride, for example. No, I don't like pride. Fuck pride. Anyway. just have fun. Don't think too much about it. And yes, happy 1st of July, I guess. I don't know. I'll see you at the end, or probably not. So, for the third time now, have a very nice rest of your day. And always take care of yourselves, regardless of what it is you're doing or trying to learn. If you kill yourself in the process of learning it, I don't think it was particularly useful. So try not to do that, Tone it down a little bit. You will get ahead by compounding good sleep, good food, and a proper schedule for your learning practice over time, right? And all of that learning will exponentially help you get to where you want to be, rather than sitting there for 12, 18 hours a day, forcing yourself to learn the theory about art and studying all the time until you're dead, lying in your bed, Not a good idea, not a good approach. Take care of your body always, because it's the only one you have.